Hey everybody, thanks for watching Back to the Outdoors. I've been meaning to make this video for quite a while now. I want to do a review of my emergency kit, what I keep in my car to address emergency scenarios. So I hope you guys find this video helpful. Let's take a look at what's inside this. So let's start with this Pelican case. You know, don't think if you're putting together something like this, you have to go out and get some expensive case like this. If you are looking for something nice, this is about as nice as it gets. Pelican makes awesome stuff. This is the Pelican 1650. I keep this in the back of my Tahoe at all times. In the past, I've had a larger case. I had the 1630. Ultimately, though, I found that was too big to keep in the back of my Tahoe. It just took up too much space. The main reason I have this is not only to keep everything organized in one container, but I also am able to lock this with 2 padlocks. And then what I also do is take a chain and I run it through one of the padlocks and I chain this down to the frame of my Tahoe. So nobody can just break into my car really quickly and yank this out of there. You know, could the chain be cut with the right tools? Of course, but most just petty criminals don't have that kind of capability. They're just smashing your window and grabbing whatever they can take quickly. So that's the primary purpose of this, is not only organization, but to prevent this stuff from being stolen. Just to kind of go into the philosophy, I guess, of this, it's not meant to be a survival kit, really, so to speak. It's not a bushcraft kit. There's no axes, machetes in here. I'm not surviving in the woods. So this is not some sort of survival bag. This is intended to accomplish a very specific purpose, which is to allow me to walk somewhere if I'm out backpacking or in a remote area and my car breaks down. If I get a flat tire and I'm out of cell phone service area, I will be able to walk at least until I get to a store, or walk until I can make a call and have somebody come provide assistance. So that's the primary purpose of this bag. It's very purpose driven. And in my opinion, what I tend to see where people go wrong in putting together these sort of emergency bags, there's a couple things people tend to do incorrectly, in my opinion. The first is that there's no real purpose to them. It's just kind of all of these survival gadgets thrown together, and it's not really intended to address any really specific scenario. The problem with that is that if you don't know what you're preparing for, you don't really know what to put in your bag. The second is that they do address a scenario, but it suffers from doomsday syndrome. You know, they're going to live in the woods for a year or something like that. Scenarios that personally I think are unrealistic. And there's no real problem with putting together a survival bag. However, keep in mind that if you're giving advice to people who may be on a very small budget, you don't want to have people going out, taking your advice and spending money on a bunch of things that they don't really need or probably won't need. I think it makes more sense if you're talking to people on a budget, and most people are on a budget, to have the necessities, things that you're actually going to need. So some background on how I put this together. I am a backpacker. If you don't watch my other videos, please subscribe. I put out backpacking videos on a regular basis. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what I need in a scenario where I might have to walk 3 miles or 10 miles or 15 miles, whatever the case may be. I have a good idea of what I'm going to need to get there, how much weight I should be carrying, and the stuff that I'm actually going to use, as opposed to just going out and spending a bunch of money on survival widgets that for the most part are probably a waste of money for most scenarios. Let's go ahead and get into the contents of this. And there are gonna be a couple of things that I keep in my car that you're not gonna see in this video, like jumper cables. I don't keep those in here. I just keep those, out. I'm not concerned if somebody steals my jumper cables. I keep some stuff up in the front of my car that I don't have in here. So I have like well, there is some redundancy. So I have a headlamp in here, but I also have a headlamp up in the console. I have a flashlight, a multi-tool, some medical stuff up there. So everything that I keep in my car that could potentially be used in an emergency is not necessarily going to be in this Pelican case, but this is gonna have most of it in here. Let's start first of all with the kind of general automotive stuff. And a gas can. This is obviously something that everyone should keep in their car if they have an emergency kit. If you have to walk to a gas station, you obviously need a container to put the gas in. This is pretty cool. This is something you're probably not going to see in 90% of people's kits. This is a siphon, and if you have to procure gas in a nefarious manner for some reason, well, a siphon is the way to do that. I forget the technical name. I think it's called a plumber's ball siphon or something like that. There's instructions in here on how to use it. And yeah, this can be really handy in the right situation. This is a reflective vest. If you have to change a tire or do any sort of work alongside the road, it definitely helps to make sure that other vehicles can't see you. These are some random tie downs, bungee cords, and things like that. I have an ice scraper in here. It's a small one. That's because we live in Middle Tennessee. We did get a lot of snow this year, but we don't get snow on a frequent enough basis where I need to keep some 2.5 foot long ice scraper in here, but I did want something to be able to get ice off my windshield if I need to, if I'm out backpacking. These are road flares. These are the Orion brand. You can get these at Home Depot. Make sure you replace these periodically. They do have an expiration date on them. I actually just replaced these a couple months ago. There's 3 in here. Not only can these be used for a road flare, but they can also be used to start a fire if you need to. This is obviously part of the gas can. And as far as the general automotive stuff, that's going to be pretty much it, except like I said, the jumper cables and stuff that's not pictured in here. This is the pack I keep in here. Don't think you need to go out and get some military looking pack. I just use this because I've had this pack for at least 12 years probably, and it's always been used in this sort of context. I don't hike with this. It's too heavy. I don't backpack with it. It's made by a company called Spec Ops. It's called The Pack. The is an acronym. It's a really good pack. It's made of 1000 denier Cordura fabric. It's made in the US. I do keep a carabiner on here, and not because it's some sort of fad, but I keep it on here to string a bear bag, and it's late at night, let's say, and I want to, stay out for the night and I need to string a bear bag. I use the PCT method to do that, and I have a carabiner here in order to make that happen. All right, over here on this outside pouch, I've got a SAM splint. These are really cheap. It's just basically a splint. It can mold to different parts of your body, your ankle, your wrist, things like that. This is an ace bandage. I have a Spider Delica 4 in here. It's a folding pocket knife. And then I also have 2 extra magazines for my car PM9 9mm handgun that I keep in there that I will show you in a little bit. I also carry a firearm on a daily basis. So in addition to that, I would also have just typically what I carry, which would be a Glock 43 or a Glock 19, depending on what I'm carrying that day. This is a trauma kit. This is not like medicine. This is like a full-blown trauma kit. Inside here I have Israeli bandages, a tourniquet, gauze, forceps, more for kind of blood loss. I have a nasopharyngeal airway, stuff like that, stuff really intended to address trauma. Learn how to use that stuff. It's not too difficult, but you definitely want to make sure you know how to use it. Or, even if you don't, if you come upon a car accident, which has actually happened to us recently, I was able to provide someone who was in a car accident with some gauze. Their car had flipped over, but somebody there might know how to use it. If you don't, if there's an EMT or a doctor there, it's great to have that equipment to provide assistance. Over here, I have another pouch. Inside this, I keep a tourniquet. I have a pen here. On the inside of this, I keep $120 in cash. That pocket's actually empty. I have a little pad to write on. And here I have $120 some in cash, some small bills, some 20s. If I have to get gas in the middle of nowhere and I lost my wallet, let's say, or my wallet was stolen and I need to have some cash to pay for gas, or if the gas pump, for some reason their credit card machine isn't working inside or at the pump, you have cash to be able to do that. The rain poncho, let me also mention, you're not going to see my really high-end backpacking gear in this. I don't keep that stuff in here. I don't spend a lot of money on the stuff that's in this because the odds that I'm going to use it are very small. I still want to have it, but you're not going to see a $250, $300 Gore-Tex shell in here. You're not going to see like the Cuban Dyneema ultralight tarps that I backpack with. So this is just a rain poncho. It probably is like mid-thigh length. It's nice low visibility green that I keep in here as well. That's more than enough for this type of pack. This is some fat wood that I actually keep in this pocket. This is great for starting fires. It's a naturally infused wood that takes a flame really well and burns really well. I keep 2 hand warmers in here. This is some paracord for stringing up a bear bag or for wherever else you might use it for. I have a Kamenga military style compass. These are really neat. I have a couple of these. They're too heavy really to take backpacking, but they are great, really robust compasses. So it makes more sense to use it in this context as opposed to having it in my backpack for backpacking. In this outside pocket here is where I keep the car PM9. That is wrapped up in a smart wool short sleeve wool shirt. And I have it in its own holster, a magazine here. And then, like I said, 2 extra magazines in the side there. This is a sleeping bag liner made by Sea to Summit. This is not a full-blown sleeping bag in and of itself. It is, as I said, a liner. This is designed to go inside of a sleeping bag, and it increases the warmth rating, the temperature rating of your sleeping bag. Basically, this in conjunction with some other stuff I have in here would probably be able to keep me warm down to, well, not warm, it would keep me alive, probably down to freezing roughly, and well below that if I was able to have a fire. So I keep that in here. I keep a boonie hat to keep the sun off my face. I have a pair of pants in here made by 511, just in case whatever I'm wearing is not something I want to walk or hike in. I also keep a pair of tennis shoes that I have down here, just in case I was wearing uncomfortable shoes for some reason. I would have some tennis shoes to put on. But like I said, if I'm hiking or backpacking, chances are I'm going to have my hiking boots with me anyway, and I would probably want to wear those as opposed to the tennis shoes. This is a Kifaru mesh pullout. Company is Kifaru. Great group of guys who run this company. Highly recommend them. In here, I keep some paper towel that can be used for a variety of things, obviously, some Kleenex. I keep a fire kit in here. In the fire kit, I have waterproof matches that I have used backpacking. Those are really great. Actually, they're called stormproof matches. A lighter, some dryer lint that can be used for tinder, fire starting, and then a couple of little tea light kettle candles, whatever those are called. This is a SOL 2-person bivvy, so this sleeping bag liner would actually go inside this bivvy. This thing, you know, I think people kind of overestimate how warm something like this is really going to keep you. Those two things combined, plus the clothing that I might have in here, are probably more than enough to keep me warm in a reasonable temperature situation. I keep a bug net in here. If you've ever been in really thick mosquitoes, these things are invaluable. I've used this backpacking, not this exact one, but I actually have a little better one than this for backpacking, but I have used these and they are a lifesaver if the mosquitoes are really, really bad. I have a life straw in here. The reason I put the life straw in here is because I have 3 liters of water in my car. I don't anticipate needing more than 3 liters, but in the outside chance that I do, I have this. These are really not a good water filter for hiking or backpacking. They're pretty terrible actually because you can't filter water and take it with you with this. This is designed to drink directly from the water source. So if you want to be able to actually transport water, which you're probably going to want to do in a lot of situations, don't get one of these, get something else. But I have 3 liters in here, which is more than enough probably for where I need to hike. I have some off bug spray. I have a fleece watch cap, and then I have a headlamp in here. This is not like the high-end type headlamp I would backpack with. It's made by Energizer, has a IPX4 water rating, and I have a second headlamp and flashlight that I keep in the car anyway. So that should be plenty for what I need. This is like a little Maxpedition case. Again, like you're gonna see all these, I don't use these type of cases for backpacking because they're way too heavy. But in here, like I said, I'm not super concerned about a little bit of extra weight because I don't really ever plan on using this stuff. It's just for emergency situations. Having said that though, don't be one of these people who puts together some 60-pound monstrosity that you're never gonna be able to carry. So be concerned about weight, but you don't need everything in here to be ultralight. I keep medication in this primarily. It's not a trauma kit, it's mostly medication. I've got some more gauze in here, so a little bit of blood stop stuff, some cough drops, ibuprofen, Imodium, Band-Aids, you know, cold medicine, things of that nature. This is a great example of something that I really went cheap on compared to what I backpack with. So I backpack with like a $300 Dyneema tarp. This tarp from Home Depot is probably like $10, I don't know. It's a 6x8 tarp. It's really heavy for a 6x8 tarp. This thing's gotta weigh 2 pounds, but it does the trick if you need to get out of the rain. It's got grommets in it. You know, I've got the paracord to string it up with. So for this type of application, this is fine. I'm not gonna go out and spend a ton of money on a tarp to put in here. I have some MREs. These are way too heavy to backpack with unless you're just kind of doing it you know, just to kind of be fun. It's nothing I would ever take on a backpacking trip. This weighs 5-6 times as much as a Mountain House meal at least, but they're a full meal. It's kind of like a 3-course meal. It has a dessert and all that stuff in it. But my in-laws were nice enough they came across a bunch of these and they gave me 3 cases of these that are brand new. So I decided to put 2 MREs in here. And then on top of that, I have 2 liters of water that I actually keep inside the pack. And then I have a 3rd liter that I keep outside the pack. I also have a belt in here. This is like a really sturdy belt designed to carry a firearm because I obviously keep a firearm in here. In here I have a P100 mask. This is actually better than an N95. I've had these masks long before COVID. We had already had a little bit of a, not stockpile, I mean, we had probably a dozen N95 masks, both for preparedness purposes, but also for just sanding projects I was doing around the house. So I had one of these in here for quite a long time. I have a contractor bag in here, which has a million uses, and then I just have some zip ties that also have a lot of uses, and those are very light as well. That's pretty much it, you know. It does have a frame. This pack doesn't come with one, but they have the frame as like an add-on option. I would definitely recommend using a pack that has some sort of a frame in it because it really helps distribute that weight. It makes carrying the pack much easier especially if your pack is over, honestly, probably 12 or 15 pounds. Once you start to get over that weight, the frame, even though it adds weight to the pack, ultimately results in a more comfortable and pleasant experience carrying the pack. So like I said, you know, there's a lot of stuff in here that you're not gonna find that might be in a survival bag or something. This is not a survival bag. It's not a bushcraft bag, so I don't have like a big fixed blade knife, or I'm not building stuff out there. This is just designed to allow me to hike to a store or back into cell phone service area if my car breaks down or something of that nature. So that's what this is designed to do, and that's why the contents are sort of tailored to that. Now, as far as some other clothing, you know, like a down jacket or some insulative layers, chances are I'm already gonna have that stuff with me if I'm hiking or backpacking. In fact, I would definitely have that with me. So if that's the scenario where I get stranded, I'm gonna have all kinds of other gear that's part of my sort of normal backpacking loadout that's not pictured in this bag. That's pretty much it for my emergency kit. I hope you guys found the video helpful if you're putting together your own kit. Let me know if you have any comments or questions, and as always, thanks for watching Back to the Outdoors.